So the three types of mutations that we could look at are spontaneous, radiation-induced, or chemically induced mutations. If you look at the picture, you can tell what each one of those are. Spontaneous mutations are things that are happening that we can't explain why they happen. They just happen spontaneously, and a lot of those have DNA sequences where the DNA can go in and fix that before it's translated into the wrong protein. If you look at smoking, however, that is an example of a chemically induced mutation. So people may think, oh, I've been smoking and nothing's happened to me and nothing's bad. But imagine if you're smoking and at that exact moment when your lung cells are going to divide, that chemical is inducing a mutation in your lung cells, and you end up with lung cancer or tumors in your lungs. So you can always chance it, but adding that chemical is taking a chance with your DNA. Same thing happens with tanning. The sun, its rays are shining down on you, and they're radiating your body, and that's what makes the sun feel so good. And here, as you can see in the picture, she has her skin cells turning red because they have been radiated by the UV lights coming from the sun. And so that may not cause anything to happen to you, but if that UV radiation hits your cells at the exact moment when they're dividing, and they divide and have a mutation in them, then that may be when skin cancer occurs. And so those are basically taking chances with your cells. Finally, we have the dental X-rays. X-rays are radiation, and that's why you don't want to have too many X-rays done of your bones or of your teeth, or especially if you are pregnant, and those, that's why they always ask you before you go into an X-ray if it's possible that you could be pregnant. Because as your fetus is growing inside of you, as those cells are multiplying, if that radiation-induced mutation occurs, then that can cause a problem for your developing fetus. So you don't want to get too much sun, you don't want to get too many X-rays, and you're taking a chance with your lung cells if you decide to smoke. So along those same lines, it's dangerous to be near the core of a nuclear power plant, because as that nuclear power plant is releasing all of that radiation and all of that high-powered energy, that high-powered energy could hit your cells right as they're dividing and cause mutations. And those mutations could result in abnormalities. They're really scary. I actually sat down and Googled that to see if you've ever heard of Chernobyl, which happened in 1986. It was the meltdown of the nuclear reactor in Russia, and it's caused some problems with wildlife over there and people. Thousands of people were killed, and thousands more were displaced, and it's really kind of creepy to look at. I'm going to put a video here on this presentation that talks about the wolves of Chernobyl and what happened to them, because they're still breeding and they're still having babies, and as they're having those babies, what's happening to them because they're being exposed to radiation. It's really a fascinating documentary, and if you're interested in that kind of thing, it's something good to take a look at. So talking about mutations overall, there are alterations in this single base or changes in large segments of the DNA that could include several genes or more. It could just be one base pair in your DNA, or it could involve large segments of DNA. And even though mutations are rare, when they do occur, they disrupt the normal functioning of the body. So they are something that happens rarely, but as it says, most of mutations are neutral. So if you change that one base pair, you're not going to have a big problem. But because they are extremely rare, sometimes, once in a while, we get mutations that have a beneficial effect. So imagine that you've got butterflies and they're living in the rainforest. If there is a mutation that makes that butterfly blend in just a little bit better into the background, or look more like a flower, look more like a tree, as that coloration may change, that may make it so it's better able to survive, not to get eaten by birds, not to get eaten by predators. And if that one mutation makes it so that it is capable of surviving better than the other butterflies, then that butterfly will go on to have offspring, and those offspring, if they have that mutation, then they may have developed an adaptation that makes them better able to survive in that rainforest. So this is something that's played an important role in evolution over millions and billions of years as little beneficial mutations have taken place. It's made it so that some species are better able to survive, and others, if they have abnormalities or they have just mutations that don't really do anything, then the ones that do have those beneficial mutations are going to be the ones that are able to survive and pass that along to their offspring. So in looking at faulty genes, a lot of times what happens is that we end up with faulty enzymes. So as you've talked about in your biology lab, you know that enzymes are necessary to digest your food, to change the color of the leaves in the spring and in the fall, to make our vegetables and our fruits ripen. And so if we have faulty genes in humans or in animals, that can lead to certain types of sicknesses. So this is an interesting example. It might be one that you want to go look at in your book. It says, how can people respond so differently to alcohol? There are some people that it doesn't seem like alcohol phases them at all, and other people, when they drink, they get fuzzy and irritated, and they rub their nose because they don't feel very well. And so that example in your book is because of different types of genetic precursors or genetic dispositions to alcohol. Some people it doesn't seem to affect them, and in other people it affects them a lot. And that has to do with just a single difference in the base pairs of their DNA. So go check out that example because it's worth taking a look at.